Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you guys are new. Today's video is very exciting because I did not know I was going to receive this palette, which I'm sure you already know what it is from the title, but this is the Natasha Denona My Dream palette. This is from her newest collection, and I did receive this in PR via Octoly, so I just wanted to put that out there. I did not know I was getting this. I thought I might be getting the lip gloss, but I had no idea I was getting the palette, so I'm very excited, especially to be filming this video. However, I am not required to make a video about this at all. These are my own opinions, my own thoughts, and I will be judging this as that. So I just want to put that out there. I do not have to film this. I'm wanting to because I'm genuinely excited about it. And I also don't really receive PR that I'm not excited about in general. So I'm pretty picky with it. That being said, let's chat about the palette. I'm sure you've seen it all over Instagram and social media in general, but here it is. This is what the palette looks like. It is her midi palette, and it does retail for $69 US. It has gone up in price because her midi palettes used to be $65. I do have the glam palette, so I did want to compare that for you. So here are the two palettes that I have in the midi size from Natasha Denona. I just had the glam palette for starters, and then of course here is the My Dream palette. So of course they're the same size, but I honestly think that they are different enough. The only shade that really looks that similar to me is the shade Nurture in the new palette. Looks pretty similar to this crease shade from the glam palette. So those are pretty similar, but in my opinion, the palettes are different enough. I do have some notes. I took some notes to talk to you guys about. So like I said, it is $69 US. To my understanding, it has two existing shades from other palettes that she has. I know the Blackest Black shade is one of those, but I think there is one other one. It was kind of confusing with what she was talking about, but there's some shades that she might have had in a matte and she decided to make them a shimmer, and so she kind of like put her own twist on them and things like that. So it's kind of strange, like as far as that goes, but because I only have the one other midi palette and I do have the Ayana palette, I don't really mind that there's some like repeats. That really doesn't bother me. If you own those though, that might be something to consider, but I feel like a black shade in a palette is pretty useful no matter what. So I'm not really judging it too hard on that. I'm really glad that this is a midi size though, because when I see a palette come out from Natasha Denona that is the $100 price tag or more, I don't even put it on my radar anymore. This one I was pretty excited about when I first saw it, but I did kind of talk myself out of purchasing it. So I did want to mention that. I don't know if reviews would have made me want to purchase it or seeing it in stores or something. I had, for the most part, talked myself out of purchasing this palette. However, I could have seen myself being swayed on it, like purchasing it with my own money. As I said, I did receive this in PR, so I did not pay my own money for this, but I really did consider picking it up. Upon like looking at it further, I kind of had talked myself out of it though, because these purple shades are typically not my cup of tea. So I'd kind of talked myself out of it. I do really like all of the other shades. It is slightly more warm tone than I thought it was going to be, but having it in person and really looking at the color story, I am glad that it looks this way because there's really no repeat shades in here. You have a ton of different variety and options. You can really create a lot of looks. And I think the demo will show you that because you can really mix and match things. So my first thoughts on the palette were that it was similar to the retro palette and the glam palette. I don't have the retro palette, but I do think it looks pretty similar to that one, which the retro palette really tempted me at first a little bit, but I was able to talk myself out of purchasing that one because my preferences were kind of shifting more warm tone. I've been mentioning that on my channel, but I've been so into warm tones lately, which is not like me. I'm usually really into cool tones, which is why I have the glam palette, which I did purchase with my own money, by the way. I do like that you have 7 shimmer shades, and I like that they're all pretty different. Like you have just that one sort of multi-chrome. This one is more of like a topper shade here. This one also had a really good, nice like flip to it between gold and pink. A little bit harder to show, but that one's really pretty. And then I like that you have a couple deeper options that aren't quite as foiled, so they're more wearable for me on the outer corner. And I really like this shade here called Spontaneous. You'll see a lot of these used in the demo. I will have timestamps here if you're interested in just the demo or anything like that. So that's kind of my thoughts there. I don't really like the multi-chrome. I think that that purple to green flip is just not very flattering. I'm just not really appealed to that at all. Not my cup of tea, but if it's yours, that's great. All the more power to you, especially if you want to pick up this palette. I do actually have a lot of respect for this launch, which might be like a unique take on this because I feel like a lot of people are sort of like confused by it. But if I had my own brand, I would also want to come out with a palette that was like my perfect palette that I loved. I probably wouldn't name it My Perfect Palette just because it is confusing, but I can definitely see like where she's coming from. That's got to be like a huge sense of pride. Also, all the rest of the things in the collection like make a lot of sense to me. I really like that she came out with one gloss, one lipstick, one lip liner, and then the face trio. I think that's a really nice rounded collection. I could see myself picking up the lip liner or the lipstick because I really do like this gloss. It smells so good. That's kind of my thoughts on the rest of the things. However, the face palette I wouldn't pick up because I want my face palette to be a one-stop shop. Personally, I would have rather her come out with 2 face palettes, a lighter option and a deeper option at a minimum, maybe 3. And also add a bronzer to them. I would want a bronzer, a blush, and a highlight. Her face palette has 1 blush and 2 highlights, so that's just not really for me. The swatches, I will insert a clip here of me swatching it, but I think that overall it swatched really nicely. I didn't dig in as deep as she did. I will leave her Instagram link down below where you can see her swatches where she really like digs into them, and they look so beautiful on the arm. I didn't have that same experience with them, but I swatched it the same as I swatch every other palette in my collection, so that's what you're seeing here. Also, I haven't watched anyone else's review, so, you know, I don't know what anyone else is saying about this palette. I didn't want to kind of sway my opinion on it anyway. So also the last really note that I had to make was that I like the packaging. I think it's cute because it shows her artistry thing. She keeps talking about how this is her artistry and it's showing that. And I think it's cute. I think it kind of showcases that. But those are kind of my general thoughts. Overall, I do feel like I could probably recreate this palette within my collection. And I'll kind of touch on that a little bit more at the end of the video, but I think I've got everything kind of here that I wanted to talk about before we jump into the demo. So let's go ahead and jump into the demo where I'll show you how I created this look. Okay, first up, let's go ahead and swatch the gloss. This is in the shade Natasha, and this smells really good. It's kind of like vanilla-y. This smells just like a lip gloss from Marilyn Norman that I used to wear in middle school. I went through so many tubes of that and it was so good. So it's very nostalgic and I really like the scent in this, but let's try it on. That looks very pretty. I feel like it's kind of glossy, but it's not like sparkly or anything. There's no shimmers in it, but it's really comfortable too. I really like that actually. And I love the way this smells. So far so good. Let's see how it wears while we do the eye look. I had to blow the candle out because it was starting to hurt my head. But I did actually wash some makeup brushes this morning so that they would be clean. So everything that you're seeing on my eyes today is going to be true to what the actual palette is. I currently have on my base makeup. I did put powder over a concealer on the eyelids. So that's what's on there. They're not primed or anything with an eyeshadow primer. I think first up, I need to pick what shimmer shade I want to use because I think that's going to kind of dictate what matte shades I want to use. I don't think I want to use the multi-chrome, but I will go ahead and just kind of swatch it so that you can see it in a different lighting and maybe next to some other ones. This shade here, Invention, is like a topper shade. So I'm kind of thinking I just want to go for one of the more like standard ones today. That's just what I'm kind of in the mood for. When I swatched it, this one in Thrill looked so pretty. So I'm thinking we might go for that one. So here we have Vision, Thrill, Spontaneous, and Babies. So those are the 4 shimmer shades. I'm just gonna swatch them to kind of pick what I want to use. Like part of me wants to use the duochrome because I'm kind of hating on it right now, but part of me doesn't. So here are the 4 shimmer shades I'm trying to decide between. Quite honestly, these 3 look like kind of standard shimmer shades. They're really pretty, but they do just kind of look a little bit basic, you know? I'm like, do I go for it and just go for the multi-chrome? I don't know. I guess we will start with the matte shades because I'm not entirely sure what I want to do so far. So first thing is I'm going to go into the shade Unity here in the middle with a large fluffy crease brush. This is a tapered blending brush, the E40 from Sigma. So I'm going to tap into that and I'm going to tap my brush off. I find Natasha Denona's mattes to be really pigmented, and with my fair skin I just tend to want to kind of build up to that pigmentation level. So I'm just going to be putting this in the crease, kind of blowing it out. Every time I first test a palette, I really like to do kind of a standard look. So I'm just going to be kind of slowly building this up and adding more and more layers of it. I want to use several shades though, so I'm not going to add too much of this. Like I think that's going to be good for right now. It blended out very easily. If you ever have a hard time at blending out matte shades, I do suggest setting your eyes down with powder first because that can just kind of help the powder shadows blend a little bit better. I think I am going to put the multi-chrome down on the lid first, and then I might end up topping it with some of the other ones just to kind of add different dimensions and also just kind of see what that one's going to look like. But I'm going to use a little bit of a smaller crease brush. This is the E16 from ColourPop. I've been really excited to use this shade here called Nurture, so I'm going to go in with that one on this brush. And I'm going to put this on the outer part of the lid and also into the crease, but keep it lower than the shade Unity that we just used. I think this shade's really pretty. I also should note that I did have makeup on before this, and it was, for some reason, kind of patchy in this area earlier. So if it is patchy again, I think I might just have a little bit of a dry spot right there. So I'll go ahead and show this particular color on my other eye as well. So I think that's my eye. I don't think that's the powder. This color is really pretty though. I like this one a lot. Yeah, so there's a slight little bit of patchiness right here. But like I said, I think that's a dry spot. I'm going to go back in with the first brush and the first shade we used, Unity, and just sort of blend the crease a little bit more with an even smaller crease brush. This one is the Spectrum in KJH number 19. I want to kind of deepen it up a little bit, and I think I'm going to go into the shade Familia, which is this like more warm tone brown. This one is quite powdery, so I'm definitely going to tap the brush off for that. And I want to pack this even further down on the outer part of the lid. Going back in with a little bit of the shade Nurture on the second brush that we used, and again just kind of blending that out. And then lastly, with that same KJH brush, I think I want to go in with just a little bit of aspiration. I feel like this was one of the cream to powder ones, which I don't have really any experience with. I don't think she has any of those in the Glam palette, but I also want to add this to the outer corner. That kind of added the depth that I was looking for. Part of me wants to add a little bit of the Blackest Black shade because I tend to not actually use true black shadows just because they're a little bit intimidating for me, but I kind of like the depth of this. So I'm going to go back in with that second brush, but I'm actually going to dip in between Unity and Nurture and blend this out. This is blending with hardly any effort at all. I really like these matte shades so far. And as I'm looking at the swatch on my hand, I think the duochrome or multi-chrome, whatever, is really growing on me. So I'm happy about that. To me, this is more like a duochrome. I know it has like a little bit of like golden sparkles in it, but it goes from purple to green. So I don't really know. I feel like it's more of a duochrome. Without adding anything else, I'm just gonna kind of build up this outer corner a little bit more. But this is a brush that we have the deeper shades on. Yeah, I really like that so far. So I'm gonna do it. I'm actually gonna pick up just the tiniest little bit of the Blackest Black shade, and I'm going to focus this as close to the outer corner as I can get. I'm gonna go back in with the shade Aspiration on that same brush. I'm just gonna keep kind of intensifying it and also blending it in with the lighter shades to hopefully not have as much patchiness. But as I'm looking up close, I think my eyes do have several dry patches on them, so I need a little bit of extra eye cream tonight. And then I think for one last time, I'm gonna go back in with the shades Unity and Nurture on the second brush that we used and blend this out. This palette actually makes me want to play around with more depth on the outer part of the eyelid because I typically don't do that. I typically wouldn't even make it this deep, but I actually really like how it looks. I feel like it kind of opens up the front part of my eye. So I like that. I will say though, I always use NYX glitter glue for every single shimmer. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to use that now or not, but I might just go ahead and go in with the regular shimmer shades. I think let's just start out with putting this multi-chrome, duochrome type shade on the lid because I just want to see how it looks when it's actually on the eye. Because I feel like it looks so cool whenever you swatch them, like shades like this in general, but I just don't know. I feel like the way the light hits it, it can kind of like close off your inner corner. And maybe that's why I'm not like appealed to them. I don't think I like this. It's very pretty. Like I can't deny that it's like a nice shadow, but I think just like the flip and the idea in general is just not very appealing to me. But I feel like it's the most interesting in the palette, and everyone has been very excited to see this in a midi palette, which I can definitely understand. But to me, this looks muddy And I hate to say it, but like this type of shade to me for some reason just kind of looks cheap. Like muddy and cheap are the two things that come to mind. I'm sorry. I think these just aren't the tones for me. I don't like them on my lid at all, really. So I'm gonna top them with some other shades, but here is the shade, what is it even called? Here's the shade Vision, just so that you can see it. But to me, it just looks really muddy. So that's that, just so that you can see it. Turn that back down. But now I wanna actually put on the shades that I'm drawn to more. So I think first up, I wanna use the shade Thrill, and I want to top it with that one, which is here. And I'm just going to put this like all over it. So I'm just going to go ahead and add my glitter glue all over the lids because I really am not a fan of like applying shimmer shades at all. I just think they look so much better with the glitter glue. Okay, so I'm going to go in again with that shade on top. And they're not going to be like 100% true to color since I'm putting it on over the shade Vision, but I don't want to wipe it off my eyelid because my eyelids are already really dry. I already like that better as a flip. It has like almost, yeah, it's got like a pink shimmer to it. Like even this one is a lot prettier to me. I feel like it does have an actual flip to it between like gold and pink. I just don't think a green to purple flip is flattering. I don't know. I'm sure it's gonna look really pretty on some other people, but not on me. Next, I'm gonna go in with the shade Babies. And this one's very creamy feeling. Like that feels super creamy. I want to put this kind of like on the outer half, but I'm not bringing it all the way to the end. And I'm going to try to add some of that depth back. By the way, the gloss still feels really good. Yeah, I feel like I'm really interested to try this without that shade. And for the heck of it, I'm going to add a little bit of the shade Spontaneous, which is down here, kind of in between where I put those two. That one's a lot more foiled. I like that. I liked the depth that I had with the matte shades at first, so I feel like for me, adding a nice like bright fun color that's not a multi-chrome would have been perfect, but I actually don't mind it. Just got a little bit of pink right there. So I think what I'm going to do is actually that Spontaneous shade, I'm going to bring that in to the inner corner to kind of camouflage the flip because that actually really covers it. Yeah, I love that. See how much better on me I feel like at least that looks? I'm going to add this over here as well. I think that's the bottom line. I don't like the flip all over the lid. I'm going back in with that second brush and blending on top of the shimmer shades that we laid down. And I really want it to be pretty intense, so I'm actually going to pick up even more of the shade Spontaneous here. I really like this one so far. On a brush, this is the ColourPop E18. I love this brush. And I'm actually going to bring this in right here on this inner portion of the lid. I've been really liking that placement lately. And I think I'll also actually use this as the inner corner highlight. I believe this is the only shade in the palette light enough for me to use as an inner corner highlight. So we're gonna go with that. And then with the really small crease brush, I'm gonna go in with the shade Aspiration here again, the next to deepest shade. And I'm gonna blend this on the outer corners to add some of that depth back because I really liked it earlier. This is blending really nicely, and honestly, I really like this look a lot better than I thought I was going to, especially after adding that shade Vision. This is a very, very pretty look. I like how easily I was able to mix the tones as well because I layered a ton of shimmer shades. I also layered something a little bit more warm tone here and more cool tone. I put those together, which I actually really like to do. So I feel like this look is just very like dimensional and really beautiful. I really like it. Okay, I'm gonna pick up a little bit, again, of Blackest Black and add it to the very outer corners. And then I'm gonna pick up just a tiny bit of the shade Familia, a little bit of Aspiration here, and blend that again. Okay, yeah, I really like this, honestly. I'm gonna go in with the shade Carpe Diem. This is another brush. This is the Spectrum KJH number 12. I just wanna try and use something we haven't already used. And I wanna run this on the lower lash line. Oh wow, this shade looks way more orange than I expected. I thought it was gonna be more of like a pinky peach. I'm really glad that it doesn't look like that though, because I typically don't like that sort of a shade. I'm gonna go back in with that very first brush we used and the shade Unity, the lightest one here in the middle. I'm gonna pinch the brush and then kind of blend out that shade on the lower lash line. I think once I add mascara, I might like that a little bit better, but I do wanna add just a little bit of the shade Nurture as well because it's pretty warm underneath there right now. And I'm gonna run this along that line as well. These shades are a little bit deeper than I probably like to use on the lower lash line. So I'm just gonna use my powder brush from my face powder and kind of sweep it underneath the lower lash line. I feel like it just kind of softens it a little bit. I'm kind of just barely letting it mesh with the shadow that I put there, but I think that helps it be a little bit more wearable. And then the only other thing I think I want to do is just use a little bit of this shade Serenity. It's a deeper kind of metallic shade. And I want to put this right where the shimmer shades meet the deeper matte shades. I wanted to see if that would kind of help with the depth. And then I'll probably touch up the mattes on the outer corner just to blend them again. But I really wanted to use like a lot of shades. Okay, now I actually really like this look a lot. Not adding anything else on this brush, but I am going to blend again one last time. Okay, I'm gonna tight line with this brown liner from NYX. This is the deepest brown liner. I'm gonna go ahead and add mascara. This is the Essence Lash Princess, and then I'll be right back. But that is it for my first look with the new Natasha Denona My Dream palette. I really like how it turned out, to be completely honest. I'm actually really impressed because I was getting a little bit of a mixed opinion based on just the swatches, but I actually really like how this looks. Could I have created this with other palettes in my collection? Yes, 100% yes. I don't think that it's perfectly unique in that way, but I really do like the flip from this middle portion to the outer edge. I don't think that's that duochrome or anything. I think that's just like with the depth and then the mixture of the shimmers I put on top. So I really like that a lot, but I really like this. I do think that the tones are actually pretty unique altogether. I don't have a palette that looks exactly like this, but I probably could piece it together within my collection. It would just take a little bit more effort, and am I really likely to do that? Probably not. So I don't know that I would have done that, but I really do like how this look turned out. Let me know down below if you guys think you're gonna pick this palette up and if you wanna see any more videos with this, because I really want to play around with it more. I'm really excited with how this turned out, so I think that I will enjoy using it some more and kind of getting even more developed thoughts and opinions on it. So I'm so grateful that I received this in PR via Octoly, so that was just like such a nice surprise. The gloss, on the other hand, also really glad that I was able to try it out because it smells so good. Now that I've been talking for about 25 minutes with it on, I feel like it's a little bit more dull, so I will go ahead and apply just a little bit more so that you can see it. Yeah, so hopefully that kind of shows you the difference of what it looks like after talking for a little while. So I don't know how long it's actually going to wear. I will try and keep you updated like how these things wear over the next few hours. I am filming this kind of late. It's already about 6 o'clock or later, so yeah, I can't really wear it forever, but I will try and kind of leave a note in the description box, especially about the gloss. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed hearing my thoughts and first impression review on this palette, as well as seeing a demo of me trying it for the first time. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!